Wow, welcome back, everybody. Another week. It is going so fast. Before we know it, it will be next year. I always say blink. It is going so quickly. So I'm Reverend Tracy L. I'm so happy to have you back here again with us. We are not having a call-in show today, but we will be getting back at those in a couple of weeks. So we have a lot of fun guests and people that we want to share with. Now, if you haven't checked out on the website, I have the free webinar tomorrow. You can go to tracylclark.com. We're talking food supply, passports, gold, silver, not one you want to miss, with our friend Jeremy from Guildhall Wealth. But we're going to really answer a lot of your questions, so you can submit questions. So make sure you go there, sign up, and enjoy it. I'm a little bit in the zoo today. All my animals are joining us. If you are live with us on video, you will hear them and see them, but that is welcome to live. So we love it. I am so thrilled today because we have my wonderful friend Lucas Mack back with us. And I know you all love it when he comes. And I think Lucas and I have had many lifetimes together. And Lucas, I'm so happy you came back, because I think as we're all heading into, well, I'm in another, I don't know. I don't even know if you call it a lockdown. It's a pretend lockdown, and people are uprising against the mainstream media where I am. It's like kind of chaos. But really, I think it's like that push time of the fear to the love. Like people can feel like they're in that blender. So I'm so happy, because you and I have been through so much that we can see the light. But I think people are like, this keeps like Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day are we like just putting our heads in the sand by thinking we're going to have this new explosion of world, but it's going to take some time still. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I love spending time with you, and we're in the days of choosing right now. And yet we have not hit the precipice. We're close. For many individuals have hit the precipice. You and I grew up in the precipice, and we already had to make that change. But for many, this is the day of choosing whether they will choose love and to trust in God, trust in love, trust in the goodness of nature, trust in the universal laws of regeneration, or trust in fear, put their trust in mankind that they don't know their browsing history, don't know what deals they're doing, all the secret society, all the secret handshakes, all the whispers in the shadows. Either going to trust that group or trust what they can see with their own eyes, which is the earth hasn't stopped regenerating, the seasons haven't stopped, the sun has not stopped. So this is the time of choosing love or fear.
And I love you say trust. It's interesting, in my Evolutionary Academy, that's our theme right now, going through where do you need to trust more? What do you need to trust more in? Why are you thinking you're trusting, or why aren't you trusting? Like, what are the programs that are keeping you in the fear and not trusting? And I love that you brought that up, because it is so true. Like, you're seeing it in your community. I'm seeing my community, our community together, because we do so much that's now merging together. It's really that time. And I always say that when we're in that, like you said, the precipice of that breaking point, everything is being brought to the forefront. And I think it's interesting as well. Now, I know we have to be sort of careful how we say this, but you say in trust. So we've been, as a society, have been pushed to trust a certain narrative, a certain group of people. But I think you and I today, I want to encourage people to really go deep, because this is where you got to do your work now, like never before, right? Like,
yes.
The only way you guys are going to get through this is you got to connect with communities like Lucas. You got to do the work. This is not the time to not do your work. That's the only way you're going to get through this. Right. But look at those institutions and organizations, and why are you putting your trust in them? Like, don't you see that, Lucas? Like, I'm like, what have they done for you truthfully? How have they served you truthfully, where it hasn't served them more than it's served you? And I don't know about when's your tax season? I know ours is right now.
Ours got pushed. It usually is in April, but they pushed it back to May, which
Oh,
has brought a lot of speculation around why
yeah,
and
because
a
the
lot of different.
systems are shaking. I know I heard
Yes,
today one of the
yes.
biggest. I've been always saying in April, there's this big explosion around in money
Mhm,
and stuff. And then
mhm,
people are like, but it hasn't happened. And then I learned today, actually this morning, that one of the biggest American hedge funds defaulted.
mhm.
And that's what happened in '08 before September, in March too, before I'm like, there's the explosion. But what I want to, and I'd love your perception on this because we've been manipulated to trust. But the reason I bring about the tax season is we're trusting that where's all the money been spent? Like right
Right.
there alone, if that doesn't question what you're trusting in, like I don't even know how to respond to that to people.
There's the macro, then there's the micro, and I think I've been thinking a lot about. I come from the Christian world, and I come from the power structure of it. I was a preacher. I ran my own ministry. I was on staff of global ministry. I've done a lot of a lot of different things in that world. And I think on the micro level, people, I can throw a rock at a church anywhere I drive, and I guarantee every third week they're going to hear a sermon about tithing. And they've been conditioned to give 10%, 10%, 10%. But then the question is, well, do they know at that local level where all that money is going? So if they don't know at the local level where that money's going, certainly they're not going to know or care. I think that the conditioning is all these systems just say give us, and then the firewall of veneer of smile and
Mhm.
and eloquent words and
Dude, and
yeah, exactly. I'm
smells,
like
the word
you.
smells.
I
Yep.
know one of the biggest pastors, one of the biggest churches in the Seattle area, huge church. Celebrities go to it, all sorts of stuff. He's the number one personal shopper. The pastor is the number one personal shopper at Nordstrom's, and that's neither here nor there. But I guarantee that's not disclosed to the congregation. Like you're gonna tithe me, and I'm gonna dress nicer than all the tech giants in the Seattle. It just
Yeah. Yeah, it's
we are
true.
in a time of trusting, or we are leaving trusting the veneer. And that's really what it is. There's this facade,
That veil.
plastic veil, and it's like, what is gritty? What can you hold on to? What can you viscerally know? And most people who are conditioned in that religious world, that I'm a sinner, I am bad, shame and control and fear. And if I don't do, then I might go to hell. And this whole concept
Yeah.
is people have to face, is that true?
Yeah. Yeah.
It just
And
comes
our
down.
definition of truth is always changing, right? It's changing so much because you learn something new and then you
Exactly.
question it. It's like I did a IG video yesterday on just what's going on right now in medicines and stuff. And they said, if you're questioning something, because I love this. People say, well, just because my neighbors do, I'm going to do it. So your neighbor does Coke, you're going to do Coke. Like, I'm sorry, that's how I look at it.
Yes,
It's like,
for
just
sure.
because they're doing it, so you want to do it, or like, but I say when you're questioning, that's because your intuition is saying, wait a minute, back up a minute. Let's look
Yes.
at something and see what your definition of trust is. And
Yes.
why are you trusting in that? Is it because you just have known that institution to be there for a long time? Like it's really, if even look at things that get you, oh, the banks would never do that, or the government would never do that, or whatever it might be. But it's like, guys, you got to start to trust in what you know inside. Like, stop handing your power away and trusting in outside. And I know you teach it, I teach it, and it's hard for people. I know you see it, I see it, where people like, I'm out of here, I don't want to do that because now I have to take responsibility, I have to make decisions, I have to be empowered. And I'm like, but that's what you want to be. Then you can trust in your own decisions.
Right. Right. It's hard, I think, for being courageous, being free. So we're talking about truth. How do we know if something's true? Simple. Does it make us breathe more deeply? Are we more free or less free?
And is the narrative the same? I
Hmm.
always would teach my kids this. They're like, well, mom, how do you know there's a lie? And I said, Because when it's the truth, the narrative's the same over and over and over and over.
So good. Yes.
When there's a lie, it's constantly changing and shifting, and now we're doing this, or now we're doing this. It's manipulate. It's got to change because the lie is constantly changing. And it's when it's true, everybody says the same thing, really, for the most part.
Yes.
And the narrative doesn't change all the time. And the third part where I say to my kids, I used to say to them, people won't tell you to be quiet, so you can still have a voice. There's not censorship because the truth will always rise. So you don't care.
That's right.
You don't care. You'll keep going.
It's like people say trust science. That's like saying trust exercise. It's a methodology, but it doesn't mean it's a law. So unless you've actually proven, which I can't remember any new law that's been rolled out since I've been alive of new scientific laws that they've discovered. So unless it's a law, it's ridiculous. This narrative of trust science, trust exercise. What type of exercise? What relative to my body, relative to the smallest child's body, what relative to a bodybuilder? That is so insane. And these narratives get rolled out. And then
how about trust that they've got $1 billion a day business, so you don't want it to go away? Like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, if you had $1 billion a day business, how much would you want it to go away?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And
I like what you say with science. I actually say this because, when I started my journey, I studied the sciences. I needed that. I was so asleep. I needed that. And then I abandoned it because it's like coffee's good for you, coffee is bad for you, depending on who does the research and who pays for the research. And according to scientists, the bumblebee shouldn't fly, but God made the bumblebee so the bumblebee can fly. But according to them, there's no explanation why a bumblebee flies.
That's right.
Or, the Wright brothers wouldn't have had planes because according to the science at that time, that wasn't possible. That's like all these things, it's just a snapshot. And then who funded it, who paid for it? Like, people got to start to discern and understand that there's a lot of good things, I think, that can come, but we're so much more expansive than that.
Yeah. This carte blanche trust in these power structures or these ideas outside of one's own experience. That's really what it comes down to, is my personal experience versus someone's narrative. And I've said this, I think I've shared this with you before last time I was on, and because I think about it quite a bit. It's one of my favorite quotes. A.W. Tozer said, "A man with an experience is never at the mercy of a man with an argument." So for instance, I've gone more than a year without wearing a mask. I don't wash my hands when I come back from the grocery store. Like I'm panicked. I mean, I wash my hands, but it's not an intent because I came back from, I just
wash your hands after the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not like panicked, like, oh, I got to get these germs. I'm not putting hand sanitizer on. I'm just living. I'm living like I was living in 2019. I lived like I lived in 2020 and 2021. My experience is wherever I went, I wanted to breathe more deeply. It doesn't matter if I'm in a crowded room. My body is a freaking temple and it is working at optimal ways. My immune system's incredible.
Thank you, God.
It never changed for me. So my experience is what I'm told is not real to me. It might be real to someone else. That could be valid, but it's not real to me. So I can't just say, someone can't say to me how dangerous something is, because in my experience, it is not that. So you can't convince me with your data sets, because then I would ask, well, who paid for the data? Who made the tests? Where did the test, like I will break down the narrative.
You're like me.
Exactly. And then you're like, okay, well,
show me.
Show me. And that's why vulnerability is such a powerful tool in the individual that chooses vulnerability and chooses authenticity and transparency. You're a superhuman. You can't be blackmailed. There's nothing to hold against you. You stand in the light of the sun, and which is, by the way, the most powerful disinfectant. We've been told that our whole entire lives. The sun is so powerful, which is why they're trying to chemtrail and block the sun and tell us the sun is bad. And exactly right.
You rub silver on your hands. It's the greatest way to get rid of anything that's a toxin. Yeah.
It's wild what we're told versus our own true experience. And
I think because when you really learn the truth of how powerful you are, then nothing in the fear camp can really get to you. Like you said, you know, you're healthy, you know what your body needs to be in optimal space. Like I know for me, I did have one of my near death experiences. Why was at the hospital, they injected me with some medicine and my body flat out rejected it, right? My body, but they did that twice to me in my lifetime when I said no, no, no. But they went, well, according to your height, you're 5'10, you're this much weight, you're
yeah,
this, right? So, but I'm like, I know my body. So when you know your body, when you know what it can do, like you said, with your immune system, and you know how powerful it is, and you stand in that truth, nothing, it doesn't, if something comes your way, you can do discernment. Like I know you and I are so good at that discernment, and then
yes,
saying, where do we go into that next level of truth? And I
yes,
think right now a lot of people are needing to get into the spirit of discernment, and it's time to, you can see the shift right now, the
mhm,
questioning and the truth, and what is true for you, like what was true for you when you were 20
right,
versus when you finally started to wake up and learn, and what's true for you now is very different, right?
yes, 100%,
Yeah,
100% different.
yeah, because you've learned it.
It's interesting, like you're saying, I'm thinking of even the supplements that I take. It doesn't ask what size you are. It just says take one daily before meal. Like I'm 6'3", 250. Like I'm a big guy. What will impact me is far different than what will impact my wife. But it doesn't say that difference on the bottle. It just says, whatever the dose is. And
Yeah,
that's like government or religion. It's saying here's one dose for all humanity, and that's not true. That cannot be true.
you
It
can.
cannot be true.
And we are, the cool thing about humanity people forget is I always say it's like a high rise,
Hmm.
and people are on different levels of the high rise depending on just awakening and your knowledge or your awareness, and then you get attracted to that. But every time you awaken to another level, you go up another floor, then you meet new people, new ideas, new places, and then you kind of outgrow that, then you go to another floor, and we're constantly just going up floors. And some people are okay staying in the basement,
Yeah,
they'll stay in the basement for their whole lives.
yeah.
They,
That's been an interesting journey for me. Is so many people I love. In fact, one dear friend who's been, and I told him I knew where I was going. And in end of 2019, I told him keep going because I'm going all the way. I'm going all the way. There is nothing that I will. I'm not stopping. I'm going to go all the way. And I wanted him to journey with me in that space of just keep growing spiritually and exploring narratives. And unfortunately, just because of circumstances of his life, he stopped.
yeah,
And I still love him. And I've seen this with many friends. Like they stop for fear, and it's always fear of loss, fear of losing their relationship with their partner, fear of losing um, acceptance in the community, fear of losing relationship in the church, fear of losing. It's always based in fear.
yeah.
I'm like, let us fear not. Let us go be courageous lions and explore the reality.
Well, here's the thing I love about that, because you and I both have that. We both declare we're not stopping. Like I know you with
Right.
your family, my family. I'm like, I'm going. You either come or you don't. I
That's
love you
right.
guys, but I'll let you go. You and I are like
Yes.
that. We're tenacious.
Yes.
Hard to be tenacious because there are days where we want to go, do I really want to do this? And then we get back up and we're tenacious.
Yes.
But here's the thing that people forget, and here's the thing that people don't take into on that journey, and is look at all the amazing new people and new experiences that come in because we keep going to another floor
Yes.
versus being stuck in the basement where there's no sun, there's no light. Like I always say, the more floors we get up to, the bigger the windows, like where everything's window, the light's coming in, there's more truth. And wouldn't you say that, like, even, yeah, there's loss, but you got better on the other side?
Yeah, 100%. Like the people that I'm connecting with, even you and so many people, like I'm one person removed from Trump right now. I'm meeting all these incredible light workers and
Yeah.
truly light workers.
Yeah.
And I was watching something yesterday that the spiritual community, like any community, gets infiltrated
Yes.
by the system that can speak the language and then take people off course
Oh, big time. I see it all the time. I agree.
all the time,
All the
right?
time.
So the how do we know if someone's a light worker? It is that they desire all things to be exposed. That's it.
Yeah.
Because in the light, all things are exposed. So you bring everything to the light. But
Yep.
anything that hedges and divides and points and says that is not of light, bring everything to the light. God, bring all of me into the light. Let nothing be hidden any longer. And at that precipice,
Mhm.
that is where we can know love. That is where we can know forgiveness. That is where we can know freedom. There is
Acceptance.
nothing. Yes, and
Yeah, total
acceptance. Yeah.
acceptance for who we are.
Yeah.
And accept all of our uniqueness of each other and what we bring to make this collective more loving and more kind and more, it's, and this is what I always say, even moving into, and you can see the dark's really afraid of this right now, really afraid, because
Yeah.
you said it, as that there are these new platforms that are coming out, these new things that are coming out. There won't be censorship, there won't be, and you can see, I've been saying this forever, by the end of this year people are going to be shocked at how much attention and power is in the light, and it's
Yes.
shifting. It feels like, for people listening, if you feel like the last 6 months it's the same old, it's because they're trying to push further down into the dark to make
Mhm.
you feel that way, because the light is rising, like you said, exposing.
Yes.
And nobody should ever be afraid of saying, this is who I am. We all started at some point, but
That's right.
you are correct. That light is getting so strong. And between now and September, I always say to people, hold on, watch the truth that starts to come out.
Mm,
The truth, like we're saying. And
yes.
that truth, it. What they always say, the truth will set you free.
That's it. Always, always, always. And the
Yeah.
irony is this whole narrative of government control, disease, fear, passport, all these things make us less free. Therefore, it is not truth.
Yeah, it's not true at
That's
all.
how we know it's not true.
No,
It doesn't
exactly.
make us free. It doesn't
Yeah.
make us free in the physical, spiritual, emotional, mental, psychological, psychic body. Nowhere are we more free. Therefore, it is not truth.
Yeah. Amen. I love that. And it's so true. This is so true what you're saying. I love that we're moving like with that love and that truth. Because for you, if you are free, like you said, you have choice. You are
Mm,
that sovereign being. You're that child of God. You have that choice. You have that ability to make choice and be loved in that choice. And I really hope that people listening, and I know our audience, most of them, they're very aware and they're learning and they're
mm,
growing, and
mhm.
that they really start to understand that, because you shouldn't be shamed. If you're shaming someone from not doing the same decision you are, you're working in the dark. And
Mm,
that's a place you got to go deep and look, because as I always say, you got to still love them if that's their choice, and that you don't have to
yes,
agree. But I
yes.
have family members doing things that I would never ever do, but I just say that is your choice and I will love you for the choice. Do we spend a lot of time together? No,
Mm,
but I still love them for that's their choice, because the way I look at it is, if they're choosing that, they're choosing it for some part of that matrix of helping people to awaken more. So they have a purpose. There's a reason for that.
yeah,
Love them for it.
that's right.
Yeah.
Boy, there. Well, as you're sharing that, I had this vision. My wife and someone she knows, the person's been reaching out to her way more recently, a family member of hers, and she chose
Yeah.
that she chose differently than we did, and um, I said, and my wife's like kind of getting annoyed. I said, I think I've had this dream, and I woke up and I shared it with her yesterday. I think it's her soul wanting to spend as much time with you as she has left, and to
Yeah.
just spend
Oh,
that time. And
oh,
yeah, I
full
think a
body
lot.
shivers. Yeah, I
And
know.
and and here's what I want people to know too is God is, and truly, there is nothing outside of unconditional and infinite love.
Yeah.
And so when the soul, in fact, I was watching this show last night about the Essenes, and the Essenes, when they were getting persecuted by Rome, chose to get burned into the fire. They were given choice to recant. They jumped into it, which is a while. I mean, the persecution was going to be so horrific. Um, because they knew where they were going. That was the thing. They all believed that it was better on the other side of the veil than it is on this side. And in that context, it is whether we choose fear or love, sovereignty or safety, these two different dichotomies. On the other side of the veil for all of us is infinite and unconditional love.
and freedom,
and
real
freedom.
freedom. And people, that's the narrative, like you and I say, it's like, you have to look, is this enslaving you, or is this making you more free?
Yeah.
Just even asking those questions and then getting that support through that. Because when you've had, like I said, when you've had a business that's paid $1 billion a day to you,
Yeah.
uh, they're not going to let that go lightly
Yeah. That's right.
at all. So narratives, you got to look beyond. And so is it freedom, or is it not? And that's
Mm,
why I say, like, that's why I'm doing the event tomorrow around just passports and stuff. Like, do you really understand what that means? Do you understand that is nothing to do with freedom? If I have to hear the narrative, I want to travel one more time, I'm going to say, whoa, you are not looking at what this is. You haven't done any research. So many people will pick up little bits of information, but you and I, like, you and I are like research nuts. I want to research. I
yes.
want to know
All the
what's
time.
behind that,
All
what's
the
happening.
time.
And
Yes.
I'm sure you said it, you were having the dreams, the prophetic dreams.
Mhm.
Like, I hardly slept. Last night was the first time I slept in probably a week,
Mhm.
but I've been up all night, not tired the next day. God has given me so much energy,
Yeah.
but the amount of information and the amount of channel, like, for me to be up almost a whole week and still feel like, hi, here I am. Like, I have so much adrenaline.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't believe the amount of information, because we're shifting so much. And it's like the planet, you can see, is waking up saying, is
Yes.
this freedom or is this slavery? Where, and we are right in the bridge is going, like, it's at a crossroads now. And
Yes.
people are just being funneled off onto either bridge. And one bridge will collapse and one bridge will rise. And you got to choose, where do you want to be?
That's right. That's such a good way to say it. I had an interesting, because I don't wear a mask and I've dealt with all sorts of pushback and feedback and online trolls and all the
Oh,
things.
yeah. I know.
But this, I officiated a wedding this weekend, and everyone is in a mask except me, and I couldn't believe it. And the thing is with the mask, it's just crossing my will, and it reminds me of being a little boy where I was violated and I couldn't speak, and I just don't want my will violated anymore. So the answer is no, just
Yeah.
because I don't want to do it. And someone asked me why I don't wear it, and I said, well, because I was violated, and it reminds me of being a kid, and I can't speak, and all these things. And
Yeah.
he said, you're putting each person that wants you to wear one, you're making them the perpetrator. You're re-traumatizing yourself again. And I was like, whoa, whoa. And I got choked up.
Yeah.
And then I realized, and I just asked God a week ago to give me greater perspectives of other people's views so I can love them deeply through their process. And when my buddy asked me that and showed that I was making them the perpetrator, then I realized I'm also the perpetrator to them, because their childhood might have been the only person that could take care of themselves, didn't follow the rules, and so they might feel unsafe because someone's not following the rules. When I am saying, whoever makes me do something against my will, you're the perpetrator. And I just had so much, I'm still not going to wear masks, but
Or the
I
little
just,
2-year-old going, no,
yeah,
no.
exactly. I just have compassion and love for every person. It's just, we're all on our own journey. And at the end of the day, everyone just wanted to be loved and held and told they're okay. And sadly, the government's never going to tell you you're okay. Ever, 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 ever. You will never be told you are okay. There is never amount of money you can pay them to say, congratulations, you've made it. There's never amount of submission you can give them and say, you're a good citizen. It is never enough. It is like the fire that saith not, it is enough. And yet, the minute we say no more to this compliance, and yes to sovereignty, yes to love, whether it costs me everything, I'm going to breathe free. That is when they have no power
Yeah.
over us any longer.
Well, and it's true. It's I posted a video. And I encourage people to go watch it. It's called The Tiny Dot. I think I sent it to you. The Tiny
Yeah.
Dot. It's The
Yep.
Tiny Dot.
It was great. Yep.
You haven't seen Tiny Dot, you want to know, go watch Tiny Dot. But it's so true, right? It's true how do this, do that. Okay, okay, why? Because everybody else is. And that narrative's been for a long time. And again, it goes through history and histories of that narrative playing out. So yes, safety, like what you're saying, we have to feel safe. And so what does make you feel safe? How can we respect somebody else for, what they need or what they require? And really get that trust and that safety in there. And I like, there's also ways around it. Like there's so many ways around this. It makes me laugh. Like there's a lot of masks that are illusion. They're a mask, but they're not a mask.
Yeah.
So you
Right.
can breathe
Right. Yep.
freely.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
okay,
Yep.
so really, what are you guys doing here?
Right.
And I know lots
Yeah.
of people, and it's a trigger point. It's a trigger point because, well, they told me that, so it's true. And I think that that's the thing that, again, back to the truth is how many times you woke up, or when I woke up, and you realize that, oh, what my parents are doing to me, in your case, that's not truth. That's not God. That's
Right.
not freedom. And
Right.
I think for people listening, they do really need we got to hammer this point in. And I know it sounds like I'm hammering it, guys, but it's because we're at such a change. Is just
Mhm.
because something's been done over and over and over doesn't make it mean you're free, and it doesn't mean it's true,
And it doesn't mean it's right.
and it doesn't mean it's right. Yeah.
When I had my ad agency, I had 5 codes of conduct that I would have them recite. I'd hand cards out. Our clients liked them, and the number one code of conduct was, just because you stand alone doesn't mean you're wrong. It could mean you're first.
Yeah.
And that is a principle that I will drive home to the very last day of my life. Though we would not know, I posted this the other day on Instagram. I created this. I had this idea of just creating um, this post of all these people who didn't comply, and how do we know them? And
I
what
saw
is,
that. I
you saw
loved it.
that?
Yeah,
And
I loved
let
it.
me just, George Washington, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, Frederick Douglass, Moses, Dietrich
Mm-hmm.
Bonhoeffer, Tesla, Thomas Sowell, Thomas Jefferson, Billie Holiday, Alan Watts, Sitting Bull, the famous Indian
Yep.
chief,
Yep.
all chose sovereignty
No, I chilled.
instead of
Yeah.
compliance.
Yeah.
Those that we deem heroes in history, who stood for the betterment of all, didn't comply.
Yeah.
And had they lost, we would have never heard of them, and they would have been considered terrorists by the state.
Yeah.
But because they didn't lose, thank God, we call them heroes.
I love that. And I love that post because it's so true. It's like, and how many times have we said that? Like if that person demanded, no, I'm not saying the back of the bus, or no, we need freedom for everybody. Stop dividing people. Like
Right.
just, get out of that whole narrative. And again, it's conditioning. And when you know the truth, you like, people always say, well, how do I know? Go back. It's the feeling. When you
Yes.
can feel something's wrong. It's like my daughter said to me the other day, she read something. She goes, I read that they did this poll and 95% of people are like, something's wrong with this narrative. Something's wrong with what's going on. Something's wrong. Well, she doesn't follow mainstream media, but okay, there you go. So you're not going to hear that in the mainstream because it doesn't follow the narrative. So when you get out of that, like you don't even have to be watching anything. You just walk around and you're like, something is not right. You can feel it. That's spirit saying,
Yes.
come
Yes.
on, wake up, wake up.
Yes. I just find this whole, I'm fascinated. Sometimes I'm saddened. Sometimes I'm fascinated. When I'm looking at humanity, and because I grew up in the family that I grew up in, I also understand the nefarious side and how easy I grew up in a house. My dad said, people want to be controlled. People want to be told what to do. People want to be told what to do. And I questioned that, even though when I was in the media, I saw the media, when I was a reporter, we'd say, stay tuned, don't go away, be right back. Tune in tonight. We're always directive. This language is always in directive, and people would do it. So then I'm like, okay, I see how this is starting to happen, and people do want to be told what to do.
Yeah.
And that I cannot fathom.
I know, because when you wake up, it's literally you you want to be empowered. You don't want to be told. You want to just have information. And that's where that separation is there. But because also they want to be told, because it's been a manipulation that's been going out through thousands of years, right? Like,
Yeah.
again, I say back to kings and queen days, it's just morphed and changed. You do this, you do that. Like, I channeled a video the other day about duty versus emotion. Think about throughout history, that's your duty, that's your duty, that's your duty. Like, that energy is so strong. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
well, my duty is to comply. And so that's your, like, and that's been the narrative, the manipulation, and it's passed through generation to generation. Because if you don't comply, then, we've seen throughout history with wars and things that don't comply, when, unfortunately, our last biggest war was just about moving money from one country to another. But,
Yeah.
and I was watching this show on Prime, and they were going into war, and the one general says, "Okay, so how many people are going to die if we hit that trigger? 2 to 3 million. Okay, so how many of our people are going to die? A couple 100,000. That's nothing. Okay, that means we get the power. Yeah, you'll get the power, you'll get the control, and then you'll be able to do whatever you want. Okay, hit the button. Let's go to war." And it was so like, and I stopped it and I looked and I'm like, but this is what happens. And people
Yes.
think, and then they guise it under, and what did they go out to do was, we're doing this because we want the power for the freedom for you. When meanwhile, the scene just before was, how do I get the power? How do we control the people and get the power? So let's wipe out millions of people because we don't care about them. And this is the truth that's coming out. It's like, I had to something like that is, they tell you every day what they're doing anyways when you start watching this stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was like, that is exactly what happens. And more people would probably skip over the scene, not even realize. But every war was about that. They didn't
Yes.
care. They didn't care about anybody. It was about money and how did they get more power, more
Well,
control.
I've always grown up in the church. I read the love of money is the root of all evil. And so, and even like evil and wickedness and these words that get thrown around, we at a level of just good humans, we think, oh, love of money, like it puts this little like weird spell where we have this charge around it. We have no concept of what true love of money is until you get to the central bank level and above, the hedge fund and above. They will sacrifice anything and everything for money. That is the love of money that scripture is talking about. But humans at this ground level, the floor level where we all are, we feel guilty when we're trying, and they know that. So they put the spell there. The evil and wickedness that exists in the world. I was explaining to someone, and everyone listening, this is how you know you live in the matrix. The internet that we have access to through Google or even DuckDuckGo or any search engine is 15% of the entire internet.
Yeah.
There's 5%, which is like the gray area if you have your own static IP address and you can get, then there's the dark web. Everything else is on the dark web. We can pay right now to watch snuff films live. The most heinous,
Disgusting,
evil, vile, demonic things exist right now on this planet. 85% of the internet is that. Now, that is the matrix. And so when we feel like, oh, I sinned, no, God is not talking about, did you mess up? God is talking about wickedness like we can't even fathom, and thank God we can't fathom it. Yeah. So don't let those who do fathom it control you to make you feel like you're bad. Don't let the government, who doesn't give a rat's rear, there would be no homeless ever. They'd be eradicated like this. Don't let them virtue signal you as a sovereign being into submission.
I always say that. I've said that for years. And I remember like 10 years ago, probably 15 years ago, having arguments with people on this. And I said, and this is when I really, they were like, well, you're crazy, or you in a cult. I said, why? Because I want freedom for everybody. But I said, these institutions, if they cared about you, if they really cared with that amount of money, there would be no child trafficking, there would be no poverty, there'd be no lack. And I said, those families alone could eradicate that overnight, but they don't.
Overnight.
You know, like,
Overnight.
what was the movie with Nicolas Cage? Was it Warlords, where the true story where he talked about the gun smuggling and stuff?
Yes.
And so,
Yeah.
and I know we're talking, and people are like, well, what's that got to do with truth? Because it's true. Like, guys,
Because it exists right now. Yes.
there would be, this is what we're saying no more to. This is that just say no. You know, they say, it's funny. We have a freedom fighter up here. He does the hashtag, just don't say no. Right. But it's like, they used to say that, right, in school, just say no to drugs, but only say no to the ones we tell you to say no to.
Exactly
Don't
right.
say no to us. Don't say no. But it is about that. It is about empowering everybody and go to the basics. Get rid of all the stuff. There would be no war. There would be no poverty. No one in the world. And that's where it gets me. There should be no one in the world looking for food. There should be no one in the world struggling to put shoes on their feet or wear a coat, because there is an abundance of so much. And this, guys, is what Lucas and I are talking about. This is a transition. Yeah. You've been dreaming of that world, or you're not listening to the right shows, but that's what you should be dreaming of, is a world where there isn't lack, because God created, there is no lack. There's no lack.
There's no such thing as lack. Yeah. The concept doesn't even exist. Right.
Just in the wrong hands right now. And we are, this is what this time is about, bringing out truth, to rise up, to say everyone deserves to have freedom. Everyone deserves to have choice. Everyone deserves to have prosperity. Everyone deserves to be in that space, because if it was running in the light, we'd already be there.
That's right. Yeah. And the new earth that is here, and I don't know how it actually works, whether it's like I was watching this one video, they're saying as a cell splits into two, does the earth physically, do we wake up one day, or when the solar flash hits or whatever happens, that there is this actual separation. I think what a horrible place to live on earth without any light workers.
Well, I always say it's like, I always see it as a split of heaven on earth and hell on earth. And really what I say with that is the people on heaven on earth, the light workers, are moving forward. It's kind of like we end up living more in that reality, that space, working with each other, supporting each other, helping each other grow, helping each other prosper in our businesses and our life and our love and our connection, like all encompassing, right? Yeah. And hell on earth is like, if they want to blow people up, they're all going to end up on that same plane. They'll blow each other up, but eventually if they want to, they can come over. And there's so many things that are going to shift in between now and 2023 into that new earth, like so many. We're in the shaking, like the popcorn's coming out of the pot, but the lid hasn't fully come off yet.
and those listening in the US, like when Derek Chauvin or whatever his name is, my prediction is he's going to be found innocent, and all hell on earth will break loose very soon. And you're giving this webinar tomorrow, which everyone please sign up, because it's so important. Well, I worked at a grocery store. It was my very first job from 16 years old to 22 years old. I worked at a grocery store, paid my way through college. And I know just from working at a grocery store that every grocery store in the United States, and I assume it's in Canada as well, only has 3-day food supply.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I'm talking about supply chain.
Yep. Yeah. That's it. It's all
they want to be on that webinar tomorrow. People don't understand.
Delicate. It is so delicate. Yeah. So to have enough supply at home, just to not have to go into the chaos when people are not prepared. And I share that to show like how delicate
it is.
This thing is so delicate.
And people, you can't be asleep through it. You just can't. That's why I keep saying to people, like, that's why we're doing the webinar. Like I called Jeremy and said, this is urgent, but people don't get it. I know up here in Canada, the farmers were protesting, but you didn't see that on any news media. You saw it on all the people, but the farmers were in the streets saying, people wake up, our supply chains are broken. Like they were marching with their tractors and they were like speaking out, and it got buried and buried and buried. And I say to people, it's also what we're talking about is the hyperinflation around the food and the supply chains. And it's, you got to understand they've been keeping everything low key. And I ran into a store the other day and had to get a few things. Now I mainly get my stuff from the farmers anyway, so they also tell me what's going on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And my eggs, my meat, I just got my greenhouse delivered. Like it's going to the farm. I'm like, D, help me build the greenhouse. The guy's got so much to build out there. I'm like, we need the greenhouse. But and I said, it's like if people need food, there'll be food. But it's really interesting because when I was at the store, how you used to see, say, I don't know, mayonnaise, they would stock it like 20 deep.
Mm-hmm.
I went down every aisle just to look, because again, I don't go into the grocery stores that often.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed they were like 3 deep or
Mm-hmm.
2 deep. And then there was a space and then another space. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
and even though people say, oh, look at what happened a year ago. No, no, no. This is a year of the supply chains being broken. And guys,
Yes.
they're not telling you the truth. That's why we're talking about it tomorrow. It's the truth, right? We got to have more truth, not so you're in fear.
Yeah,
So you're empowered.
that's right. And I have a theory I've been sharing with a lot of people that when Trump talked about the military will distribute the vaccine through the supply chain, the military will manage the supply chain. I think that was code that he had the US military in place to keep the supply chain going during the chaos. I think that all that was code language so people didn't freak out that the military will actually be delivering food.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's just my theory on the whole thing. Because why would he talk about supply chain so much? Supply chain, supply chain, supply chain. Like, well, I don't worry about the supply chain of the flu vaccine. Like that was never an issue, or whatever other narrative that they've had historically had. He kept pushing the supply chain, so
Yeah.
they're prepared. I think the white hats, the light workers, they want
No, they want you to
to
be
live.
okay.
They want
Yeah.
you to be okay. Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting. I spent a lot of time in Asia and I met some really funky people over there and people that would like, well, I was in Singapore and stuff. So a lot
Yeah.
of shipping hubs, right? So I learned a lot of what was happening and I met a group of people. They were like, I guess you would call them the pirates that would have to go into the ocean, into the boats to release them when other pirates tried to stop them or whatever. I'm just sitting there going, why am I sitting here listening to all this? Like at the time, I didn't get it. It was like quite a long time ago. I didn't understand it. But now watching like what's happening and understanding that I was exposed to learning that at that time. And I just shelved it because I'm like, am I just listening to this? What's happening? And now all that information that I learned over 10 years ago, so often we don't realize that what we're learning and the stuff that's coming to us applies so much later in our life.
Yes.
And now I get it, everything they were saying, and then watching how everything. So it's so important that we start to never doubt the information that's coming, but use discernment, go into the truth, go into what is, and always know. It's like, back to, I talk about the crash of the 29. Were they telling you, but they knew it was coming? Were they out there saying, pull your money out? No. So guys, it's like, you got to go in, you got to connect to that hand of God, that God of your understanding, that divine universe, and really start to question right now and know what's right for you and follow what's right for you, even if people around you don't understand. Because I know when you woke up, Lucas, and I know for me it's been 18 years, you can imagine the amount of people thought I was just a nut job.
Yeah. Yeah.
A
Yeah.
nut job. Like, but they're like, even my own doctors, they're like, I think you sound crazy, Chase, but I can't discount. I've been with you for all these years and your
Yeah.
body's repairing. And what did I do? I left that system and I started to learn about holistic healing and energy medicine and foods for my body. And like you said, the sun and what vitamins and what stress did I have to get rid of and bringing back my power and like all these things. And then the body went boop, 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 and they couldn't discount it. So they were like, my one lady was like, don't stop. Like, she was a great doctor. She was like, don't stop. I don't understand this stuff, but I've never seen this. And, get out of
That's
the
the best. That's the best compliment you can get. Like, I don't agree with it, but I can't argue with the results that you're getting. And it's like, yeah, because I'm actually living what I say.
Yeah. What do you, I know as we come to the top of the hour, I do want to remind everyone, sign up for the webinar tomorrow, please. Like you're
Uh,
not, it's a free
yes.
webinar. Like we are going to answer questions and everything. You and I and Jennifer are putting together on April 22nd at 7
Yes.
p.m. A
Yes.
telesummit. It's the Elevate Your Life Summit,
Mm,
which I'm really excited that we can do to help people find more of their truth and
yes.
get into that next level. What and they can sign up for that. We'll get you guys all the details. So Lucas and Jennifer and I will be doing that. We want to bring you guys some more because we know it's going to be a tough time.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to the listeners today? Because I think it's a lot of them are pushing for another lock. We're in another lockdown, which is not a lockdown, which is just so it's so chaotic. It's weird out there.
Yeah.
For people that may be wavering, don't really know how to find their truth.
Okay. Yes. The most important thing is turn your TV off
Amen.
and
Amen.
get off social media if you are not following high vibrational accounts. Facebook is a low vibe, I barely get on Facebook now. Such vitriol. It's such a low vibrational. It's very
There's
low
a lot of
vibe.
trolls, I will say. I only go there
Oh,
for my community and we're
yeah,
MeWe, but it's like other
exactly,
than that, yeah. Oh, I get trolled a lot.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I can't stress this enough. Turn off anything that is fear based. Anything, everything. Your friends, your family, doesn't matter. Get into that solitude, that space of meditation, that space of being aware of the one who is thinking, not you. We are not our thoughts. We are the one observing our thoughts. And when we can find that separation, that detachment from our thoughts and be like, oh, I am aware of my thoughts. Like I am aware that I am speaking right now and I am aware that I am aware. When we can get back into this actual seat of ourselves, then what is there to fear?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. And I could cry. This is the place where God is found. This is the place where God is waiting for us. This is the still small voice. This is where it says, be still and know that I am God. Well, the I am resides when we are in that place behind the thoughts, behind the feeling, behind all the receiving of this information. It's to be in the now present moment, the infinite and what I call the infinite and unconditional love of God. There are no conditions in that. How do we know? Because the minute we go there and find it, there's nothing to do except be.
And I hear too, I get chills. It's so beautiful. And I hear to reiterate, you know, what we talked about and what you said at the top of the hour with goosebumps. So I better,
Mm,
I do, is literally to stay that the light is freedom. So when you're looking at things right now, question everything and say, is this enslaving me or is this empowering me to be more free?
mm,
Because God is all about freedom and choice and love and oh chills because it really has to be the message. I think that it's just question, question, question. And you're right. I don't know. I haven't had cable in I don't think like probably 10 years. I don't even know what's on the news.
yes.
I have no clue except if something pops up on my phone.
Right.
But I don't surround myself. Sometimes I think I'm in this bubble, but like you and I only am talking with people and surrounding myself with people that are in this same space of freedom for everyone. So sometimes I forget that there's a whole narrative out there because I don't have cable. But I want to also say, if I can, drop the seed, there's a lot of new platforms that are coming out that you and I know of. And I have said this since last year. Anyone in my community, you've probably heard me say this, Lucas, is the platforms that we mentioned earlier that have taken the space. I do see energetically a big shaking, a big dismantling, a big pulling apart. And will it happen tomorrow? No, but I do see it happening this year, like starting this year. God has showed me a lot of this old space will be dismantled. Now, whether it'll go into different, but who knows? But it looks like dismantled as this new platform rises. And it will rise to the point it will have more power, energetic behind it
Yeah.
than even what many governments have endured over the years. And they're not going to understand it but that's the light. So if anyone's doubting, oh, it chills, that's coming. That's here. You can see it. You've said it for a year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
I,
yes. Thank you.
I'm so grateful that you came to join us. We had an incredible Soul Sunday. You're going to come back as you've
Yeah,
been
that was
helped us
awesome.
build, our non-denominational space of granting wishes and making dreams come true. And I think that like, I'm so honored to have you as we are all building together, and you and I have the same mission. We just want to see everybody be I don't like that saying the best versions of themselves, but to being loved and to be cared for and to being honored. I'm so grateful that you were able to join us today.
Thank you. Same. I love you and your community and our community. The light work.
We're just getting going. Like
Yeah.
I think this is
Yeah.
the fun is we're just getting going of what people are going to see that we're building together and bringing everything we are doing and, separate together, still being us and still being able to create, because it's this beautiful space and oneness. And share your website and your Instagram, please.
It's
What's on the list below?
lucasmack.com is my website, and you can reach out. I coach, and
Yeah.
we'll be doing retreats again when things pick back up. But and then Lucas James Mack on Instagram. Put a lot of content out there, and yeah.
I'm really excited for when your retreats can start getting going again. And I know lots of visions, you and I've talked about that, and it's important. And I really I see a lot of men stepping up and a lot of men realizing that this isn't a flaky hooey wooey space. And this is a place where they are ready. I say they're coming out of the closets in drove. They are tired of losing all the outlets they had. So thank you. You're going to play an important role in helping that with the masculine and the feminine. So thank you again.
Thank you. I love you. Thank
You
you.
will be back. I love you to bits. You are coming back. So everybody, tracylclark.com, go to under events. If you hit the drop down, we're changing things on the site. It's the friendship hour with Jeremy. And we're going to be talking about all these things. You can come on and ask questions, and we're going to share and so you can be empowered and prepared. So we'll check you out then. Next week, I cannot wait to see you. I have my friend, my osteopath, actually coming on board to teach you a little bit about what he does and osteopathic medicine, and to have a little bit more play. So have an incredible week. Thank you, Lucas. I love you. And we will see everybody here, same time, same place. Have a great week, guys. Thank you for listening to the Tracy L Clark Show with me, Tracy L, where I teach you how to connect to the God consciousness so you can unlock your superpowers and connect at light speed and live your extraordinary life. Tune in every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio, where together we will unlock the secrets of your body and your life. As the founder of the Body Regeneration Academy, I, Tracy L, will provide you with the insight and simple tools you can apply right now in your life to move you forward and leave the past in the dust. To join the Body Regeneration TLC Online Academy, make sure you check me out at tracylclark.com.